And let's go ahead and hit go live. All right, just getting everything tidied up here in the workspace for today. So good morning, everybody. And as always, thanks for stopping in. My name is Rich Charpentier. I'm the channel host, and we usually talk about drone stuff and 360 stuff and photography and, of course, building your own small business. And today is going to be an interesting one because this is a topic that gets me riled up. And honestly, I've been wanting to do an impromptu live stream all weekend to start covering this one. But we're going to start things out nicely here and not be all frustrated. Let's double check. All right, everything's looking good on OBS for the for today's live stream, and we've got 3 folks online already. So welcome everybody. And so Bruce, by the way, Bruce was the first person to pop up on channel. That 360 looked really good that you did, and the nadir looks really cool. I like the custom setup, so nice job. And I showed that to Jody and said, we need to improve our nadir. So there you go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this one, and we're gonna minimize OBS. And so let's start out. We're gonna lead into today's, okay, audio's fine, thanks Bruce. Excellent. I always want to make sure, because we're still experimenting with the Rode Wireless Go 2, which has been awesome. It's got a ton of use last week, and so that's absolutely fantastic. So toward the end, Bruce, if you don't mind, I'd like to share your 360 there real quick with folks so they can see that nadir. Or maybe we do that first, you know, to have happy talk before I become a grumpy person about today's subject. So let me know what you think, Bruce. Actually, I'm going to pull up AZ Drone first. So this is my business website for our drone services. Down at the bottom of this page, I have had a disclaimer up for quite some time because, you know, as I've gotten into the industry, I do understand some things. Like one thing, most of us who are drone operators are not licensed survey engineers, nor do we pretend to be or play a licensed service engineer on TV. So we can capture images and aerial data and GPS information, but that doesn't alleviate the need for survey engineers. Thanks. Your video about affinity and setting the nadir was exactly what needed. Excellent, Bruce. I'm glad. So everybody, at the end of this one, will sounds good to share. All right, let's pull that up in just a moment. And I just want to show everybody what Bruce set up with a 360. But let's take a look at my disclaimer really quick, and I'm going to tell you about it. So while Arizona Drone is capable of aerial data collection, visitors should know we do not interpret survey grade information for projects where exact measurements count. You still need to rely on a licensed survey engineer. Arizona Drone can provide data in cooperation with your surveyor. We're very happy to do that. And additionally, we do not overlay property boundaries on home lots. You don't know how many potential customers I've lost over that last sentence in my disclaimer. So I've had realtors call me for several years, and oftentimes it's a no. And it's a no because they want me to draw some property lines on the images that I'm taking for them. I'm not a survey engineer. I'm not playing one on TV. And I'm not producing information for folks that they could, let's say, use in a court case about property boundaries or something. We don't do that here. And we're never going to claim that we do that. What we do is we do image properties. We do image buildings. We do take single shots with, here, where is it? It's in my pocket. Hey, Corey stayed at a Holiday Inn once. Awesome one, Corey. I do have an iPhone right here. This iPhone, when I take photos with it, it has GPS information in it, and this is going to be relevant. My sarcasm is going to be clear to you in just a little bit. But this phone can document the location that I was at with some additional EIXF data, and all iPhones and Androids can do it. And we'll see why that might be a problem a little later. So oftentimes I have been asked, Rich, we want you to go fly a raw land property and we need you to put lines on it. So I just pulled up near a flight that I did. So this is not one of my flights. This is a piece of property for sale north of Prescott, north of the main area of Prescott. And as you will see, and let's look back at that first one. Okay, so it's kind of like this, and looks, is it hand-drawn? Is that from GPS coordinates? I don't know. Actually, I do know these lot lines are hand-drawn, so they shouldn't be interpreted as, you know, this is the exact dimensions of the location, okay? But as you can see, so for this particular property for sale, they have someone's drawn lines. Now this line set up right here is pretty legit because this is from the Yavapai County tax parcels maps. So, you know, they've got a staff of people. Are they survey engineers? Who's drawing these lines? We don't know. But this is supposed to be much more accurate. So when I've talked to realtors and things, I've said, you know, we can take the images from the Yavapai website. So I just pulled up the Yavapai website. So this is when clients will give me a tax parcel number so that I know where I'm going to be flying for them. And as you can see here, it's got this area blocked out, and this is gis.yavapai.us. So hopefully this is legitimate and accurate information, but I can't attest to it. I didn't input any of this. So I still looked over at Corey's stayed in a Holiday Inn once. So there we go. So that cracked me up. Thanks, Corey. I needed that for the morning. Keep me a little loose on this one. All right, so there's one example, Dovetail Road. Now let's go over to another Dovetail. So I was flying out at Dovetail last week, totally different property. Once again, here we go. We've got another piece of property for sale, and it's got these lines here, and I don't think this is quite as exact. You know, images stretch out in one direction or another direction. Also, the lenses we're using, you know, how much distortion is there. But I don't think, you know, I think once again, this was hand-drawn. And once again, on my website, I say I will not do this. And yes, I've lost customers over it. It has cost me probably a couple $1,000s since we've started up in me turning down raw land property. So the raw land that I do, very explicit with the clients. I make sure that it's in my emails with them as well, that this is something we're not willing to do because it could jeopardize my small business. All I need is one good whopping lawsuit about property lines, and that could be the end of me. So I do not need that. So, you know, when people come to me, they understand, oh, look, downtown Prescott. So the rest of this one is just showing off location. Once again, not one of mine. So we're just going to close that one down. Now, I do utilize the Yavapai County GIS website so that I can get some GPS coordinates to know where I'm going. And then it does help me lay out my generic flight paths. Why is all of this relevant? Why am I ticked off? And why did my entire weekend, I find myself trying not to do this video early? I wanted to make sure it was on one of the Monday live streams. So let's get right into it. There was an article, so I got this in email the other day. I knew about this last year or the year before, but this is the update. So a drone pilot is filing a lawsuit against the North Carolina Board of Survey Engineers after they'd threatened him with jail time, fines for taking aerial images. What? Okay, so this has been an ongoing thing. I don't know if this is the pilot who I've seen before, but I did see some interviews with a pilot previously who's basically run out of Dodge. And he actually left North Carolina, is my understanding from the interview I saw. So this article, should commercial drone pilots obtain a surveyor's license to sell aerial photos and videos? So it's not just about photos, it's about the videos too. So this new lawsuit can impact us. This is going to impact us really positively or really negatively. Because, you know, once this comes out and there's some rulings on the books, other states are going to follow suit in one direction or another. So in 2018, this guy ran into some problems with North Carolina's Board of Examiners for Engineers and Surveyors. And the letter warned him that the commercial work he was doing was illegal because it constituted surveying without a license. Oh, boy. Remember how I told you that my iPhone also contains EIXF data and I can take photos and I could block out an area on Google Earth really easily by walking around with his phone and taking a couple photos. So I wonder how that comes out. All right. So he also had put on his website that he didn't establish property lines and it couldn't be used for legal surveying. All right, good disclaimer there. Despite the precautions, now this is where I'm going to get hot under the collar. Despite the precautions, an investigator, yay, investigator, read the article last week. All right, Corey, so you know too. What bothers me is what's coming up in here. According to the investigator, taking any of these actions, so this is not just drone operators, folks. Taking any of these actions without a surveyor's license is illegal. So any, all right? Now, maybe they've condensed this. I'd like to read the exact wording that the investigator had. Providing stitched together images of a property, i.e. orthomosaics. How about 360s? Because when I take 360 aerial images, I have GPS information. I have to stitch those images together when I'm creating a tour. My tours are for fun or to show off a business place, but I have GPS information in those images. I'm stitching those images together. I'm using some kind of 360 previewer. I can make notations on that 360. Those notations might refer to the location of something down the road, or they might refer to the edge of a sidewalk or something. Who knows what I'm going to put up? But providing stitched together images of a property. I can, with my iPhone, create stitched together images with PT GUI. I can make different types of panoramas. The investigator, Eric, the investigator was, it's the investigator for the North Carolina Board of Surveyors. So, and I'm going to talk about surveyors in a few too. I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but I'm going to tell you about somebody that I know and his stance on GPS back in the 90s. So, you know, this is the old guard versus the new guard is what it's coming down to. I don't want to put property lines out for people. It's not an interest to me. But I am interested in showing properties, showing progression on properties. If I do a video of a construction site before and after, according to these guys, according to the North Carolina Board of Survey Engineers, I'm a bad guy too. Every state has a different board, okay? It's state by state, but we've got them in all 50 states. So providing those stitched together images, i.e. orthomosaics, or how about 360s, or how about stitched together images with an iPhone? Even if you didn't take the picture, just stitching them together using orthomosaic software, which I do, can get you into trouble, according to the board investigator. Like I said, I really want that investigator's bullet points. I want to read the exact language because the next one really gets me. Providing images of a property that contain metadata. Every freaking photo that I take has metadata. So on my Canon M50, when I'm hooked up to my phone, I've got GPS information. My phone has GPS information. My drone has GPS information. My 360 camera has GPS information. And most of these items I am stitching together. So putting points 1 and 2 together, me and my iPhone and my 360 camera and all these things are illegal. And by the way, these boards don't set what's legal and illegal. They can enforce licensing, but I don't think they can really get you arrested. But, you know, part of the threats that came to this particular drone service provider included some threats of jail time, apparently. Also, draw approximations, even rough ones, of property lines. Last week, I was really busy. Last week, I had so many meetings. One of my meetings was with a higher-end realtor here in Prescott who would like to start using some of our services and some of our 360 services, as well as our standard aerial services. He also has some other interesting projects going on, and he's in talks with some other people about augmented reality and building tours with augmented reality for properties down the road. And doing augmented reality is going to have stitched together images and faked items in them. You know, if you've looked at any augmented reality real estate tours, you can plop a new couch in, you can change this around, change that around. Well, that's doing it inside, but you can take that outside too. So maybe we put some patio furniture. Maybe we accidentally show the property with a stitched together image. Oh my God, is a board of survey engineers coming after me? I don't know. So if you can't tell, I'm not kidding when I say this one really ticks me off, because this is such broad language, and I'm just going to say uneducated language, because what they said in point number 2, providing images of a property that contain metadata. All of our cameras have metadata. So i.e. elevation, distance, or GPS coordinates. All right, let's stop here for a second. I'm gonna cool off for a moment. I'm gonna go click another tab because I got all this stuff ready for you guys. Like I said, I've been wanting to do this all weekend. So I just pulled up another tab, and it's from Wikipedia. You know those guys over at Wikipedia, love them. I pulled up photogrammetry because I think it's important here. Photogrammetry appeared in the middle of the 19th century. It's been a while. There was no drones then. Did you know that? Okay. In the middle of the 19th century, almost simultaneously with the appearance of photography itself. The use of photographs to take topographic maps was first proposed by French surveyor Dominique F. Arago in 1840. People were thinking about getting additional information from images in 1840. Neat. The term photogrammetry was coined by a Prussian architect. Okay, so there are many variants of photogrammetry. One example is the extraction of three-dimensional measurements from two-dimensional data. Now, so I've been doing my drone work. I got my Part 107 back in 2017. Okay, yeah, 2017. And one of my big interests when I started studying for the Part 107 was being able to create maps and models. It was a hobby of mine back in New England, and it also was part of my job in a small way when I was in telecom. But so I got thrilled about drone work because of the possibilities of mapping and modeling, even just for fun. But also, you know, it can roll into a larger business, and that's what I've been working on developing. And hey, we're taking a step every day. But so photogrammetry has been around for quite some time before all of us got our drones in the air. And I can tell you for a fact, like I use Metashape, and before Metashape, it was PhotoScan. And one of the people that I learned about Metashape from was an archaeologist who was using, at the time, PhotoScan to make 3D models of fossils and rocks that contain fossils. Really cool video series. So, you know, go search for PhotoScan 3D models, fossils after, and you'll watch her video. It was great. And so she didn't have a drone or anything, but, you know, she was snapping away making these. And probably a board of survey engineers wouldn't be mad at her about that. But the point that I'm making here is photogrammetry has been around for quite some time. Taking measurements from images has been around since the days of film, and amazingly enough, the early days of film. Now it's become a problem for the, at least for the Board of Survey Engineers in North Carolina. But other states are going to be watching this. And quite honestly, let's go back to that one. All of us, even if we're not doing commercial work, all of us have probably provided images of a property that contained metadata. I went out and flew over Pointer Rocks a couple of days ago just for some fun flights and for some practice. And while I was there, I was capturing images of the beautiful rock formation, and those images had metadata in them, including GPS and elevation information. Now, if we take this broad language from that investigator providing images, you know, who am I providing them to? Not clear. If I'm providing an image of a property, well, I was taking photos of the Granite Dells, and the area that I was in is a privately owned property owned by Pointer Rocks Campground. So, you know, I took some images that contain metadata. Some of those images might appear on their website to make people want to come and pay them a visit. But, you know, this board of survey engineers out of North Carolina says, well, then, you know, you're doing bad things, Rich. Like I said, this article might have condensed these bullet points. And so here we go. Surveyors Association is always trying to find ways to make sure they have a monopoly on certain tasks. Some of it makes sense. The rest is ego. Shane, thank you so much, because I was about to dive into the next part. So when I was back in New England and I was doing telecommunications, I was on the switch engineering side of things. So, the connection from the cell tower all the way to the termination of that call on your phone, that was my part of the job. But I had a bunch of friends who were radio frequency engineers, and then we had our tower building contractors and all of that. Those guys were using ArcGIS. They were planning out their models. They were planning out their propagation models for how the towers were going to propagate. And of course, we dealt with a lot of survey engineers as well. One of them, who I knew very well, and we're not going to go down any further roads to name names, but one of these people is actually the owner of one of the largest survey engineering firms in New England. And as I was getting into my job and doing my work, first with Sprint PCS, um, I remember buying one of the earliest Garmin GPSs, and I bought it. I'm a gearhead, okay? I love backpacking gear, rock climbing and hiking. Those are my things. So, a new Pelican case comes out, oh, I'm drooling for it. GPS comes out, handheld GPS that didn't have maps or anything, just had the coordinates. And I'd carry around my topo maps of Mount Washington and the presidential range and all those places I had. So I was talking to this surveyor who happened to be the owner of this large company. And back in the 90s, he was so against GPS. GPS was dangerous. GPS was inaccurate. GPS shouldn't be used for surveying or for providing clients anything. He was a staunch advocate against GPS and basically let me know in no uncertain terms that Garmin handheld I got was garbage. And that I'd probably get lost in the mountains, and we didn't have mountain lions out there like we do here in Arizona, but I'd be eaten by something most likely because I used a GPS. He hated the applications of GPS. The one thing that I learned in all of my time in telecom and dealing with the site acquisition side and the tower side was that they really did want to, as Shane said, some of the stuff is ego, some of it makes sense. And, there's got to be this middle ground. And if this is an accurate representation of what the investigator said, and this is truly accurate, that providing stitched images of a property, even if you didn't take the pictures, just stitching them could get you in trouble. Well, then all of us drone operators are screwed because, number two, providing images of the property that contains metadata. My videos contain metadata. When I fly through a property, there's metadata. When I take progression photos for my clients to show the change in their structures, there's metadata. I depend on that metadata to get accurate flights every single time. I use that data so that I can provide my clients with meaningful updates to show them the progression of their properties. Nowhere in the presentations that I provide to my clients do I say for a minute, this is the exact GPS coordinate here, 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 and here are your measurements. I'm very crystal clear in my material on my website that we do not do that, we do not offer that, and we tell you, go get a survey engineer. So here I am back at my disclaimer again. And we do not interpret survey grade information for projects where exact measurements count. You need to rely on the licensed land surveyor. I'm selling the land surveyors here. I'm saying this is who you need. And, I'm sure other boards in other states are not as extreme as this. Like Arizona, I have not heard of anybody running into problems like this yet. But the fact that there's a lawsuit out there now, so Davenport, that's crazy. What digital media doesn't have metadata? That's exactly it, Davenport. And I'm not kidding. So I've played around with this. When I first started learning heavily about photogrammetry, it was because of passing my Part 107 and everything. But some things that I didn't know, I got so super excited about doing models and things. I did some practice and test models with my Canon 7D around a building. So I took equidistant steps. I photographed a home. I stitched those things together. I used Metashape, but I think at the time it was called Photoscan. And I actually made a pretty nice model of a home with a 7D walking the perimeter of the home. It was just an experiment for me, okay? And it wasn't a drone, and it wasn't a 360 camera, and it wasn't augmented reality. It's a technology that's been around for a really long time. I can understand the threat perceived by survey engineering boards. I get that. But if we as drone operators are aware of the rules and regulations within reason, then I think we can all get along and work together with survey engineering boards. I don't see them as a problem. Last year, I obtained a couple of new clients because a survey engineer referred them to me. So that was very nice of him. And we actually had multiple conversations about, any time that you might need someone to fly for you, and then I can hand over the data, and then you can do your survey engineering thing. I would like to work cooperatively with different survey engineer groups, and I'm sure a lot of them are not in favor of this because this is crazy that it's just these 3 points. And I went around and I looked up, so there's been some other interviews with this drone operator, and the language and things were a little different. That's why I'm cautious to say that this is set in stone, the exact language used by the inspector or the investigator. But bottom line in North Carolina, at least, is a lot of drone service providers have shut down their businesses. This guy included. It's terrifying. I'm going to be sued by somebody because I took a real estate photo. Are you kidding me? So from warning letter to lawsuit, I just wanted to continue through this. This is linked down in the show notes below as well. So please, go give this one a read and do some searching around. So this particular operator took these threats seriously. I would take these threats seriously. That's why I've turned down realtors before who are looking for me to provide them with little boundary lines. I won't do it. And so at least a half dozen other service providers in North Carolina received similar letters and closed shop or changed their offerings. This is ridiculous. So survey engineers are going to basically kill this new technology. And so we're not all out doing real estate. I know people who are flying power lines. I know people who are flying pipelines. I know drone operators who are flying mining locations. There's a gamut of things. How about people who are doing agricultural flights? They are gathering data from a piece of land where they're going to have GPS coordinates and other EXIF data, and they're providing this information back to the growers to show them the hot spots on their properties, the overwatered spots, maybe places that need spraying for pesticides, insecticides. All of these activities fall under those 3 points that the investigator says is a no-no. So, God, I know I'm being overly animated today. Sorry. This stuff really ticks me off because I think this is massive overreach. And I think there's room for drone operators to do the things we're doing, especially if we're keeping in mind what these guys, what these survey engineer groups want as their own domain. But with my old friend who owned that large survey engineering company who was totally against GPS, a decade later, all of his trucks had GPS units in them. So, they seem to be incredibly slow to change. So I think North Carolina, especially, is terrified that they could be replaced in a lot of places. But if I were them, I would look at it as opportunities to either get some in-house Part 107 operators or actually contract out. And if so I watched this guy's interview over a year ago, and one of the things was he was doing some work on behalf of a survey engineering firm, and when he got brought before the board, he got thrown under the bus by the guys that had paid him to do some flights for them. I think they'd used those flights against him in their meeting. But I do remember watching that one. So there's a couple of YouTube videos out there, but they're a little old. And let's see, Eric, we need to put the fear of God in these damn surveys and, sabotage the projects. Don't apologize for who we are. Like I said, I was so wound up this week, and I got an email the other day. Sometimes I don't keep up with all the UAS newest news emails because I'm signed up to everybody. So that's why I don't do much news here. I'd rather talk about practical applications with you guys. But what really hit me was, I'm doing these 360 tours now, and we've got several new clients lined up. Tomorrow, I have a meeting on a property north outside of Prescott with a realtor and a builder because they want to document the entire project from start to finish. So it's going to be another one of my progression projects. And this can lead into a couple of really good things. So I had an awesome meeting on Friday. And then I read this damn email with the follow-up on this lawsuit. So this lawsuit it took years for old surveyors to get on board with GPS survey. Shane, yeah, that's exactly it. The guy that I know, and yeah, I'm being real careful because he owned a sizable one. So it was one of the bigger ones in New England. And I mean, when because I showed him, I was proud of my Garmin, and I felt extra tech savvy for the day. And I built switches, so I was already tech savvy, but it was a new toy. And he just crushed me on that. He was like, no good, not useful at all, dangerous, misinformation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And all of his survey trucks a decade later, everybody was, of course, equipped with high accuracy GPS units that cost a lot more than your standard Garmin. But I'm sure that they will adapt over time. But in the meantime, they have run people out of the state of North Carolina or shut down businesses for small business owners just trying to start up. Like I said, other states aren't doing this. I haven't seen much about other places coming after people, but I always make sure to be very clear with my clients as to what I can offer them and what I can't. And I'm never going to say to them, yeah, I'll drop property lines for you. It's not going to happen. But those three bullet points could impact a lot more. It's not just about property lines anymore. It's about images with EXIF data. And if it really was this unclear and broad and open-ended, then shooting with your iPhone and then uploading your location to Instagram falls under their bad categories. And that's the point number 2. Images of property that contain metadata. Well, we're all screwed, and put your cameras away. And let's go back to film. Oh, but wait, we can do photogrammetry with film too. All right, there's my sarcasm and anger for the day. There's a lot of good old boys businesses out there. Yeah, Davenport. Change is slow and painful. While they're adapting and things, the one thing they shouldn't be doing is trying to crush emerging technology. We've all seen how technological innovation can make our lives easier and give us time to become better at the other part of our services. If one service becomes so mind-numbingly easy for all of us, that's great because it gives us more room to innovate. I guarantee you in a decade that, most of the survey engineering groups out there will probably be on board with drones. But in the short term, what we don't want to see is this lawsuit going in the direction of these survey boards. And I don't know, how much authority these guys have, but like the threats of jail time, the threats of property seizure, those types of things, so by the way, they're going with the First Amendment angle as part of their suit. I think this goes beyond a First Amendment issue. It's not just that it's speech, but if I take a photo of your property for you so that you can sell it on a real estate website, a survey engineer is not going to come out and take a photo of your home for you to sell your home. But if I'm snapping it with my drone, I'm falling under their bad bullet points. So I think their language is terrible, and it's just a shotgun approach. And I certainly hope that North Carolina goes the right direction. So this is just the newest example of a licensing board expanding its authority to crack down on competition, this is monopolistic behavior. That they want to corner this entire market, but they're also overreaching. Because let's say I got up on a crane with my camera that will record GPS locations to take that photo of that house. That falls under their bullet points. So there you go. Worked for a software developer for a government contract using frameworks end of life over a decade ago. Oh, man. All right, so I'm going to calm myself down. I'm going to close this article. Like I said, the article's down below. Go give it a read, do some searches. See if you can find his interview, because his interview was great. And I think I watched it maybe last spring. So that's the one thing I didn't prep for you guys. So by the way, I did not draw these property lines. This is the Yavapai County's interactive tax map. This is where I get some of my reference information for when I'm doing flights for clients. So I checked out this particular parcel. Tomorrow I'm going to do a quick flight around the parcel to just get some establishing shots. It's nothing that's being passed to the realtor. It's to get me thinking about what they want in the project, because they want several phases of this project, which is really exciting. So once again, I'm going to have to reinforce and reiterate to them, because in our conversation last week, I said I will not draw property lines. And that was before reading this article. So Saturday, I actually sent the realtor a link to this article about the lawsuit so that that realtor would understand why I'm taking the position of not doing this. All right. But I've got lots of reference information here. I don't know if any of you have checked out your state and county tax map services, but you can get a lot of information in pre-planning your flights, whether it's residential or other commercial. And this information is out there. If I click the XY over here, and then I'm going to click on the degrees decimal, and I move my mouse around, look up here. Let's zoom in on that. So when I move this around, the GPS coordinates are moving around. So how accurate are these boundaries? Maybe I should turn around. So am I using good boundaries? Well, this is from the Yavapai County's GIS group. So I'm going to assume that this is accurate and useful information for me, and that I can use it as a reference point to know where I should and shouldn't be flying for this property. After I pull this up, I jump over into either Litchi or Ground Station Pro to block out some of my initial flight stuff. So this is, like I said, this is a test mission. So tomorrow when I go to this location, I'm going to do a quick test flight for my own information. And I'm also going to be doing a flight with Ground Station Pro to make myself a 2D model, an orthomosaic model. So North Carolina is going to hate me for what I'm doing tomorrow. In December 2020, Institute of Justice successfully defended a Mississippi mapping company that was similarly charged by its state survey board with unlicensed practice. Awesome, 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 Bruce. Yeah, if you guys come across any other articles on this, please, you can get in touch with me through azdrone.net, or you can post a comment here, because I'd like to see some more of this, this information, because this can impact all of us. I know that most of you are here on this channel because you're building your drone businesses too. And I want to see us all succeed. I don't want us to fail because of some overreaching entity, and an entity that I don't think has anything to say to us about, our documentation of locations for our clients. If we give our clients upfront information as to what we do and do not provide, they are an informed consumer and they can make their buying decisions. They don't need this board telling them that they can only go to this one group of people, when in fact, survey engineering firms, are they equipped to do residential real estate photography? Because I have data in my residential real estate photography, and sometimes I stitch images together to make cool pinos. All right, yeah, I'm being sarcastic, I'm sorry. It really ticked me off. So there's my mission hub for tomorrow, so wish me luck with that one. Tomorrow's meeting is incredibly important. This could mean a lot of new business for AZ Drone after our conversation last week. So that's awesome. Here we are back on one of those where somebody hand drew that in. And so then there's my disclaimer once more. And so we're not wrapping up yet, but we are gonna move ourselves into feeling, and I made this whole special cover and I totally forgot to have that cover up. And yeah, Corey, the tax maps are awesome. Some counties are better than others. Like Coconino County's one is very different. So I always have to remember when I'm popping between different counties that I have different ways to get the GPS information, etc. As I'm wrapping up on that lawsuit thought, I just want to say, so a lot of our progression work that we do involves video and photography. We do have GIS information, but at no point in anything that we provide our clients do we say, yeah, you can take measurements from this and it's down to so many centimeters accuracy. Even if it is down to so many centimeters accuracy, we do not tell people, oh yeah, we do this, because I do understand that survey engineering has a role. But some of my most recent projects where I'm flying video flights, I'm flying still photo flights, and I'm doing models, and I'm doing 360s, stitched together images, eye roll. All of these things in that giant shotgun approach, I wouldn't be able to fly for any of my customers. You can't have everything, and you can't behave like a monopoly. Is there price setting between them and in the different states? I'm not going to speculate on that. The economist in me, because that's actually what I trained to be when I was a kid, the economist in me says there might be some collusion and things too, which, is not, it's not healthy for competition at all. So there we go. All right. Let's go ahead and minimize that one. And then let's talk about Bruce. Bruce, I hope you're still here with us because I wanted to pull this one up. So Bruce had gotten in touch last week, playing around with Affinity Photo and doing naders. So let's go into here, and I'm just going to go grab the arrow tool. So Bruce was kind enough to send this one along to me the other day, which has made me want to revise our naders because that's awesome. So let's go in here to the layer, and let me see, why does it not think I'm in the live projection? I did something wrong, not Bruce. This is me. Let me close this one and reopen it. I must have clicked something because I had this open just a little while ago. And let's grab that. There we go, edit live projection. And there we go, Bruce. So number one, he took a couple extra steps to actually make that aperture right there. So we just had a plain, boring black little circle with our logo in it, with our website address. So this is a nice use of naders. And let's say you're just doing some virtual tours for fun, like some of the stuff that we've been doing downtown recently. That stuff downtown is rolling into getting clients who want us to do 360 interior tours for them. So that's fantastic. But some of the outdoor scenes that we've been doing where, hey, nobody's paying us for it, the least we can do is actually put our logo into it. So if somebody stumbles across the 360 tour, they know who built it and they know who to contact because they go, hey, I really like that tour that you're doing. So here we go. We're just rotating Bruce's up. I'm going to change that field of view back to about 75. So this came out really nicely. Also made me miss more of the greens. So, I've been out here in the desert for a while, and my first reaction to this image, Bruce, was, sometimes I miss the East Coast still. So we got somebody out on their lawnmower there, probably having a good time, and very, very nicely done. I like it. I really like, you could make that nadir smaller if you want to. So when you guys are setting these up, just keep in mind, you can shrink them down a little more if you need to. So it's how much area you have to cover. If you've got a tripod resting there and you're covering the whole tripod area, then this is fine. But if you want it to be a little smaller, you can do that as well. Don't forget the different hosting services. A lot of them will let you put your own branding on your stuff as well. So maybe you'll have your branding in the upper left corner as well. But then you've got that nadir patch. And yep, even the trees came out really nice. I hope I'm not making you seasick. I forget that when I'm controlling it, I might make other people a little seasick with that. So yeah, and in Bruce's case here, he's stitched something together and he has an image with GPS information in it. So, if he was in North Carolina, he might be having a bad time right now. All right, all sarcasm aside, I really do hope that the drone community keeps up to date with this particular suit because this is going to really impact all of us. If it goes our way, this could be really good for our businesses, and maybe, it's a bridge to having conversations with survey engineers so they know I'm totally not trying to infringe on the work you're doing, and I would love to partner up with you. How's that? I would love to have work assisting survey engineers. I would see nothing wrong with that at all. All right, finally, I did post a new video yesterday taking you through something that we've been up to. But let's just pop over to Kula really quick. and explore. Let's go CAZ drone. So this project is not complete. This project is about a third of the way complete. And that was because the clients wanted to take their time prepping other rooms. But last week we did finally get into Affinity Photo, made the image with the nadir possible. Yeah, Affinity, I've been a Photoshop guy forever, Bruce. And somebody here on channel told me months ago to check out Affinity. And just that the 360 projection where you can go right into the edit mode, fix something, and then come right out of the edit mode back into that 360 projection, it really gives me a handle on, and you can do something similar in Photoshop, but it's just not as intuitive or as straightforward. So I caught Affinity on one of their sales. Maybe it was the Black Friday sale. It was maybe $35. And, you can do a lot of Photoshop editing with it too. So it is worth a look, and it's worth having as a tool in your arsenal of what you need. So here we are at, this is the Elks Historic Theater. So for those of you who didn't see the video I popped up yesterday, I'm not going to go through this whole thing. But so this was shot with the Theta Z1, and it's hosted on Kula.com, as you can tell. Let's go ahead and arrow that in. So these images do have GPS in them as well, and they're stitched together as well. So in the view of state of North Carolina, I'm probably a bad guy. So we have, let's go into the entrance here. So this is the historic Prescott Elks Theater, amazing building, restored several years ago. Well, it's been more than several years now, like 10 years ago. I actually got to do some photos, before and after photos, way back when they did the restoration, and I got to do a really fun photo shoot. Affinity Photo might, yeah, 90-day trial, $25, a couple of cups of coffee. All right, I'm gonna go up to the balcony seating first because we'll get you guys through some of this. So, kind of interesting to maneuver these hallways, and some of you might be saying, oh, Rich, you screwed up the white balance. No, I didn't screw up the white balance. These are the colors in the building. We actually did have my color checker passport card with me, and another neutral card up with us as well. And that's the color. So, it's a beautiful theater, but wow, that color. So we've added links through this thing. We're not completed with it yet. We're waiting for the clients to get back in touch with us because I want to know. I don't like the arrows for our travel, pointing for travel. So there are other icons we use. So I'm going to get their opinions, and then we can easily swap them. But you can take a tour through the balcony seating, the box seating. We also included some still photos. Don't forget, in all these things, still photos can be added, videos can be added, voiceovers for these tours can be added. So don't box yourself into just thinking about real estate. Find those amazing buildings and locations in your area, make them a deal so that you can get access, because the TIS tour has already resulted in several new customers for us. So we made them a deal. And, they already know going forward, they're already going to be doing a show change. So they've already let me know that they're going to want some new things, and they're going to be happy to pay the regular rate. So there we go. So let's close that one up. So like I've always said, I'm against doing free stuff, but if you can work some discounted things and that they're going to roll into the next clients, that's all right. Now, at some point in this tour, as you start going through it, you're getting further and further away from the stairs, and you've got to click once and twice and 3 times. So one thing we did to kind of minimize that for people was we did give them the opportunity to jump off of the balcony and down into the main seating area. Not literally jump off, just on this 360. All right, that joke didn't land, I'm sure. So anyways, I'm gonna go over to the box seating over here. So there's one of the boxes on that side, and we can hop on down to that first floor. And there we are, center aisle. It is an absolutely beautiful theater. And I remember coming to one of the performing art shows, and they had some great acrobatic stuff going on. It was for like the last Tsunami on the Square, which is a huge event in Prescott that I don't think happens anymore now, which is a shame. It was a lot of fun. It was like an event that was end of June, start of July, somewhere in there. All right, toward the box seats. And the one other thing, we're just gonna hop on in here. I have to say, so before you say, oh, it's grainy, Rich. So this is backstage, and they only had one light on back there because they didn't really want to do anything with the backstage yet. They didn't know if they wanted to stage it or anything. But I decided to just plop the Theta Z1 down there and let it do its thing with the dual fisheye plugin. And wow, it did I know there's pixelation and noise here. We were shooting in basically a dark room with a bright room down there and a bright front area. But I was pretty darned impressed how well the Z1 handled it. I was using the dual fisheye mode, so I was having it bracket 7 images at a time. But the biggest part, if you didn't watch yesterday's video, I was most excited about the green rooms. This was awesome. I'd seen the whole theater, but this is pretty cool. Most of the ceilings in here are pretty low. I'm 5'7", and I had the ducking urge as I was going through. But so all of these things are from different shows that they've had over the years. I'm sure that they'll be reopening, hopefully in the near future. They were closed down because of the pandemic. Not their performing arts center or their recording studio or anything. Those were still open. But as far as major shows, nothing's gone on for quite a bit. So I'll be looking forward to the first opening here again. But getting back into these green rooms, I mean, you got the ducting work that's, head level, and let's move on into here. So there's green room number 2. That one kind of gave me the creeps. It felt haunted. There's green room number 1, but just, very interesting to take a look through the behind the scenes of a truly older theater that, has had a lot of TLC in recent years. And I'm so glad that it's part of our community here. So, think about the cool places around you. If you're doing your drone flights, if you're doing your practice for models, whatever it is, find those practice locations. Find those interesting things that you can put your own spin on. And I'm gonna bet you're gonna find more clients. So there you go. That's the bottom line. All right, so let's close this one up. And before we run away, so I'm just about ready to run away. Just thought I'd show you. So I told you drone stuff would be happening again, and there's going to be a couple of flights this week. I'm just heading out to about there. There we go. Me being goofball. So I was just doing a couple of presets on Litchi that I hadn't punched into something in a while. So I always go out and I always like to borrow the Granite Dells as my little testing location. So I put in my Lance notification because we are within 5 miles of KPRC. And, I kept it really low as well, but no major activity or anything for the day. I haven't edited this or anything, no sharpening, nothing, just out of the camera. And this is part of some B-roll for another project that I'm going to be doing. So David, if you're on channel, just know some of your B-roll is coming together. So beautiful location though. I've been a fan of the Granite Dells and Prescott for quite some time, and all regulars on this channel know this. But if you're ever in the area and you want to check out some amazing rock formations and have access to fly a couple of very unique locations, come on down to Prescott. There you go. All right, we're gonna go ahead and close up that QuickTime Player. So we will be seeing more drone flight and video here really, really soon. And don't tell me I dropped the YouTube. Oh no, I might have broken the stream. No, Rich. All right, if you guys are all with me, we'll see if the stream... Okay, it says the stream is still live. Some moron turned off his Google Chrome. There we go. All right, excellent. So I hope everyone was still getting that. Apparently I shut down all of my Chrome, which means that I had closed the stream item as well. So if anybody's still in there, let me know. I think we should be good. Let's double check. OBS says that the world is happy. So I will believe OBS. Oh, and just as one more thing for all of you to see. So I did go do another client location last week, another raw land. And, thinking about putting out those fake property lines and things, there's no way I'd do it with this piece of property. I'm not going to do it with any. But the southwest corner is over here, just a little bit off of the dirt road. The northwest corner is somewhere in this bush, according to the tax maps. And then somewhere over here, and I don't have a way to get that GPS coordinate, because then it comes back kind of this way. So it would be this really skewed, distorted thing that I don't think is representative of the property. One of my thoughts lately, if you want to represent the overall property, do a 360 or two, on smaller acreage stuff. So, and I would suggest when you're working with your realtors in the area to let those realtors know why you're not trying to be difficult. I had a realtor last year and she thought that I was trying to be difficult about it or something. I was like, it's not a matter of me being a jerk or anything here. I don't want to risk my business. I don't want to be sued, and I also want to do the right thing. So yeah, everyone keep up with that lawsuit in the Carolinas. And if you have any other articles on other locations where similar issues have come up, I would absolutely love to hear about it. So you can leave the comments here, or once again, pop over to azdrone.net. And let me see here. I'll just turn on my little advert things. Notice I had them off all today. I didn't even do a pitch for the AZ Drone Teachable site. But if you like what you see here, go down to the bottom, like and subscribe. We're continuing to grow the channel. And this is all about practical drone application and practical things you can do to build your drone and imaging business. So there you go, azdrone.teachable, and then the Patreon channel as well. And to all my patrons, thanks everybody. This upcoming Sunday is another Zoom meeting just for patrons. So we're going to have a fun one with that. What altitude for a small property? Corey, I've actually done a couple. So one of the properties recently I did at 30 and 60. It was a larger property. But I would like to be close. One of the things you got to think about, well, I'm sorry, I need to back that up. One of the things that I need to think about, some of these land sites that I'm going to are very mountainous terrain. So sometimes the realtors would like to show off the view of Thumb Butte or Granite Mountain or, the Dells in the distance. So if I get those 360s too high, when I get them up to 60 feet, the people who are buying this property are not going to build a 60-foot high house just to get the view. So it's really good when I do higher ones to give the overall feel of the property. But if we're worried about views and build locations and the positioning of the house, I'd like to see the 360s a little closer to the ground in an elevation that would be realistic for the house build. Tomorrow's meeting is in part about that because there's another team member that's going to be coming along tomorrow who has some other interests. And I can't say any more than that yet, but hopefully I'm going to be able to talk about it in the near future. We'll know more about that tomorrow too. But so this is going to be great stuff for my own small business, but also this is going to be a lot of cool flights for you guys if this all comes together. So tomorrow morning at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time, I'll take a happy thought from you because I really want this gig. So like I said, Corey, I would suggest doing a couple of 360s, maybe do a couple at lower elevation to give some people some realistic ideas of the view of the property from the potential build site. And then maybe do a little more elevation and make note of it. So let them know this is at 40 feet AGL, this is at 50 feet AGL. And in the case of the property I'm checking out tomorrow and some of the properties that I did last week, there are some dramatic changes. One of the properties I did had a ravine going right through it. It was only a couple of acres, so it had two major drop-offs. The northwest corner was a height of land, but it was a very narrow corner, and then bloom, you're right into the next property behind it with somebody else's home. So I didn't know how realistic, are you going to be able to build up there because it's such a narrow sliver of land? So, God, I would love to actually provide people with, a digital elevation model, and those can be generated from Metashape, but I'm not going to do it because once again, that whole survey engineering thing, I'm certainly not going to be putting out multicolor coded DEMs because that would fall into that category. So. All right, everyone, thanks for dealing with my rant for today, and I hope that we've had some good information for you. And I really do have my fingers crossed that the gentleman in North Carolina wins the lawsuit because, a loss of that lawsuit might make other state boards feel like, hey, we can go for this broad shotgun approach as well. All right, with that, everyone, I got to get a couple things ready and run out the door. And then I'm just taking a ride out to look at another property location that was talked about last week as well to see what the access is going to look like. So, all right, have a great start to the week. And for the patrons, Don't forget Sunday, 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We'll have a fun conversation. We'll probably see some of the new stuff that gets captured this week. And for everybody else, I might pop another new video up. You never know. This week. And at the latest, we'll have another live stream next Monday, same time. All right. Have an awesome start to the week. We'll see y'all again real soon. And we'll